Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. This week, we're not only going to look ahead to Boro's games over the Easter weekend with Bournemouth and Watford, but we're also going to have a look back at the start of England's World Cup qualifying campaign. Joining me to do this are Tony Guest, Joe Scott, Lee Bailey, and making his debut down in the southwest, Ry Sonley. Welcome to the show, lads.
Good
evening.
Good evening, lads.
Great to have you on board.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having me on here, James, as well.
You're welcome, Ry. No problem at all, mate. Viewers, as always, we love to hear from you. We love your contributions, especially this week with it being a little bit of a different show. We're not going to be just focusing on the Boro. As you say, we're going to be talking on the national team. So get in touch with us, share your thoughts. We'll start off with the England team, Tony. And the first game was San Marino. Pretty routine 5-0 win, Tone. Is there any merit for you in a way, Tony, playing teams like San Marino? I mean, I think they're ranked 221st in the world. Is there any sort of merit in playing those games, Tony?
It's been a topic of conversation with my mates over the weekend. Obviously, we've got the Nations League now where these teams are getting the chance to become more competitive. But for World Cup qualifiers, surely FIFA has to put them in the hat with teams like Cuba and things like that because, you know, it's not even like Middlesbrough playing a non-league team in the third round of the FA Cup. They shouldn't be classed as international teams for me, James. And I know, yeah, we won 5-0, but all it does is put miles in players' legs and a few lads the first goal and the first caps. So, as a confidence...
Well, sorry there. Hopefully we'll get him back soon. I mean, what's your opinion on that, Lee? Do you think... how can you solve that situation? Or do you think, at the end of the day, these are all European federations, they're all teams that are part of UEFA. They have as much right as anybody else to take part in the competition, or do you think otherwise?
I think it's a bit snobby to say like they shouldn't be allowed to play because, of course, they should be allowed to play. Like, I think maybe there could be like a pre-qualifying tournament for the lower teams, but I'm not sure. I don't know how you'd go about it. You could just make it where you have to be a certain rank, a certain FIFA rank to qualify, but then that's going to upset some people because you're going to have big teams who won't qualify then.
Yeah. Lee's just said there, Tony, I know we just lost you up there, saying about maybe having some sort of pre-qualifying tournament for the likes of San Marino. But you said obviously then there might be an issue with other clubs missing out, missing out. And that's what it all comes down to, doesn't it, Tony? The money, the big dollars in football.
Well, that's it. That's all really, you know, that exercise against San Marino is about. It's money for their FA. It's money for our FA, you know, of all these television cameras that's inside the ground. So it's FIFA being very lazy because this has been the tried and trusted way for so long now, you know, and they don't try to change it. All I want to do is make the World Cup bigger, bring more countries in. And for me, it devalues the qualifiers. I remember the 1974 World Cup when our qualifying group was Poland and Wales, 3 teams in a qualifying group. You know what I mean? I know we didn't qualify from it, but that's where they were your qualification games. But now you're having to play 10 games to qualify for a World Cup finals.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, Tony. I mean, Joe, it's no exaggeration to say that game on Thursday night, it really could have been about 8-0 to England at half-time, couldn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely could not count how many chances that Raheem Sterling had. Could at least scored 4 inside the first half. But, you know, I think against a team like San Marino, you would expect to put at least 8 or 10 by them. But, you know, we won at the end of the day. But like you said, I think we could have scored a lot more. Particularly, Sterling could have got at least about 5 or 6 goals that game.
Yeah. And Lee, some of the players that were involved on the night, I think there's no dispute to say that there's some real stars in the making, or they're already stars, to be honest. I'm thinking of players like Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. We've had golden generations, or what they've been called golden generations in the past, that have maybe flattered to deceive a little bit. how hopeful are you as an England fan that this current crop can deliver something for us?
I think it will deliver something. By deliver something, I'm talking like semi-finals, finals. I think we will get to a final in the next few tournaments. Because if you look at the likes of Spain now, they're nowhere near as good as they were. Italy aren't as good. Holland have went back since they've got rid of Koeman. I think the next few tournaments, we should be there or thereabouts.
Oh, I hope you're right, mate. I really do. Ryan, welcome to the show, pal. Another player that made his debut on Thursday night, it was now, was Ollie Watkins, and he marked his debut with the goal for England. Gareth Southgate, he's got so many attacking options at his disposal, hasn't he, at the moment?
Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, Ollie Watkins, who came through Exeter City youth team, played for Exeter for a number of years before moving on to Brentford, then going on to Aston Villa after 2 successful seasons at Brentford. Scored 20 plus goals for them in his seasons at Brentford, which valued his money at the 25-30 million pounds to sign for Aston Villa. So he deserved it. And then when he got his first goal in the Premier League, I thought, hats off to him. He deserved it. He took his chances well. And now look at him. Now he's an England international. Scored on his debut. I'm proud of him as a Devonian.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done, mate. I mean, game yesterday, Tony, Albania. That was the next challenge that England came across in Tirana, and I think it's fair to say the pitch itself was something that many of the England players won't have been used to, will they?
No, it looked like it'd been like my year the other week. It looks like it hadn't been cut all the way through lockdown, but but like you say, they had to play on it as well, James. You know what I mean? And they're the professionals, and they got the grips with it the second half, I thought. So they just had to put a bit of extra yardage on the passes, so they got there in the end. What surprised me about that, Lee, as you who follow England far and wide, why do we need to start with 2 holding midfielders away from home against Albania?
I agree, mate. I agree. Like, especially going back before the World Cup and the Nations League qualifying, we were playing 4-3-3 and we were absolutely obliterating teams. Like, we went to Spain and we were 3-0 up at half time. And for some reason, he's just he's went a bit more cautious. I don't know what it is. I agree you need to be able to play all styles. So, but at the minute, we don't need to be playing 2 holding midfielders for me. We've got so much attacking talent. Like, playing the 2 holding midfielders, I think it takes away some of our threat going forward.
Yeah, like you say, definitely. The likes of Albania, you know, do you need? I know they're a bigger threat than San Marino, but you know we should be playing teams like that without a goalie. For me, I'm old school. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could understand that. I could understand doing that away at Poland. You know, want to follow like Lewandowski, for example. But there's no need to be doing it at the minute. Like I don't know why he's all of a sudden went so cautious the last 12 months or so.
Going back on the stadium. I mean, it was only built like 2 or so years ago. I mean, for a modern stadium like that, you could have at least expect for them to do more of a good effort with the pitch.
I think they said they're having a few problems, aren't they, with the turf, which sometimes happens in new stadiums, George. I think they said Wembley had 1 or 2 problems initially when that got redone. Just, Joe, on the topic of that game, Ben Thornton's been in touch and said about Harry Kane. He got the opening goal last night, and that was his first goal in 6 games for England. How important is it that he got off the mark and thinking, obviously with the Euros ahead in the summer, that he finds a bit of form for his country?
It's very important, I think. You know, I think he was saying earlier in the week he wasn't sure about his future at Tottenham at all, and just even though he wasn't used against San Marino, I think it was crucial that he did get off the mark, you know, at Albania, and also to see him, you know, breaking stuck. I think it was about November 2019 since he last scored for England. So yeah, it was crucial for him to break his stuck, you know, a few days ago.
Yeah. And Lee, what would you say? I mean, we've had San Marino and Albania as our opening 2 games. Maybe not the most attractive of opening fixtures in a qualifying group. But what would you say to people that would say generally the qualifiers are dull and the routine and the boring? What would your take be on that?
It's not for everyone, is it? If you prefer like your club football and you're not bothered about national football, that's fair enough. But like for me, the other night going away winning 2-0, that's a good result. Like if Man City go away to West Brom and grind out a 2-0 win, it's all over how good of a professional result it is. That's going to be a massive 3 points in the league, league chase. But like for me, that the other night was a good result. Like it's one step closer to the World Cup, and with Poland and Hungary drawing their opening game, I think if we win Poland Wednesday night, I think it's pretty much ours to lose. Then really,
yeah, fair point, mate. And
Like
right,
you say, we found a way out of winning these qualifiers. I think is it 27 games since we've been beat. So yeah, I have no criticisms over the result. Yeah, it's not pretty to watch, but like you say, we've waited a long time for easy qualifications, and yeah, it's a 2-0 away win, and you can't, Lee, you can't fault that, and I totally agree with you. If you love your international football, it's a good result, and if you're more interested in your club football, you won't be watching it. So, but we get too many negative comments with these games against San Marino and Albania, but we found a way to win, and that's good. That's good enough for me as a England fan.
Yeah, most teams, most like international countries now have players who are playing in some of the top leagues. Obviously Poland have Lewandowski. They've got a few lads at Napoli and that. So it's not going to be easy. If you can grind out a 2-0 win away, teams take it, I think.
Yeah.
I think Lewandowski's injured apparently, so he will be a problem for us, this coming Wednesday.
Just going to get onto that, Joe, in a minute. Before we move off the Albania game, though, Rye, another player that caught the eye yesterday, another relatively young player, was Mason Mount. He's had an impressive season at Chelsea this year. I was surprised to read it when I read it this morning that he'd started every one of England's last 7 games, which is some testament in the position that he plays, that he's being picked every time by Southgate, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. It's proved his quality as well. He captained Chelsea in Frank Lampard's last game as manager of Chelsea as well in the FA Cup win against Luton. And Mason Mount has come strength to strength. And I do rate him really highly. And I think him getting the game time for England as well is proving his progress as well. Especially when, a few seasons ago, no one would have known about him. And look at him. There's the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi as well, who's knocking on the door.
Yeah, no, good stuff, lads. Well done. Lee, Poland, obviously, game coming up this week, Wednesday night. Probably the pivotal game in the group, to be honest. Arguably our biggest rivals in the group as well. What sort of a game are you expecting against them?
I think it'll be tough, but like Joe said, if Lewandowski's out, I fancy our chances. But I would probably say him and Harry Kane are probably the 2 best centre forwards in Europe at the minute. So hopefully he's out. But I think it could be a tough game. Like I'll take a win. Just win them, and I think we're pretty much favourites for the top spot. I think it's ours to lose then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Poland, with or without Lewandowski, they've still got good quality players in their ranks, and I know along with Lewandowski as well, I think they've got 2 players out with COVID at the moment. I think Leeds United's Mateusz Klich is one of them. So they've still got good players in their ranks as well. So like Milik, for example, who plays for Napoli.
Yeah, there's the 2 Napoli lads, isn't there?
Yeah, and the 2 Napoli lads are going to be a key threat for them. And obviously, whoever's in goal, whether it could be Szczesny or whether Fabianski. But it's still a good side, even though they don't have Lewandowski. Poland is still a dangerous team regardless.
And that's it, Joe, because you're talking about a team here that's regularly qualifying for tournaments. They're a side that have got a bit about them. It's not going to be a formality at all on Wednesday night, is it, Joe?
No, considering they're, like you said, there are key rivals in this group, both them and Hungary as well. So I think, if we take 3 points at Wembley, this coming Wednesday, I think it will put us in a good position, going into the next international break, which probably, looking at it, will be after the Euros.
Yeah. And Tony, you mentioned earlier at the start of the show about past encounters with Poland, going back to '73 and Tomaszewski at Wembley, the clown, and there's been loads since then. We seem to draw them out in every World Cup qualifying group in the 80s and 90s. What memories stick out for you from past games with Poland?
Oh, it's got to be Lineker's hat-trick in the 86 World Cup.
Yeah.
We were absolutely dire. Bobby Robson took us to Mexico. It was in Mexico, and we started with Butch Wilkins and Brian Robson in the midfield, and we were absolutely dreadful our first two games. I think we got beat off Portugal 1-0. We drew. I can't remember who it was we drew with 0-0. Morocco. Wilkins got sent off. Robbo knocked his shoulder, and it totally transformed our team. Peter Reid came in. I forget the name. Bracewell came in, and all of a sudden we were world beaters. And that hat-trick for Gary Lineker against Poland to get us through to the last 16 was absolutely fantastic. Great night, great memories of that. So, but going on tomorrow night to Wednesday night, I think we're at Wembley, and I just think we'll have too much quality for them. Yeah, they are a threat. You start to see, like you say, them two games with San Marino and Albania, you start to see the likes of Nick Pope. Now, is he good enough to be an international goalkeeper? Because his footwork's absolutely terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so do we start?
Dodgy,
Do we start with Henderson on Wednesday night? Because Stones, I'd like to see Stones and the kid from Wolves rather than Maguire start against Poland, because I'm not so sure about Harry Maguire at the moment. But John Stones is playing absolutely fantastic. So whether they had Lewandowski or not, I'd still be quite comfortable the way our back four, back five are playing at the moment. But it's that same problem. It's the problem we've had for a while. We seem to find England number one, then the goal missing. Now we've got Nick Pope, and is he good enough? Is he good enough to be facing Poland?
Yeah.
And personally, I'd rather have Dean Henderson in goal myself for Wednesday.
Well, that's what Luke Sanderson's got in touch with us about there. Thanks for watching, Luke. He's mentioned there that he'd give Dean Henderson a shout against the Poles. And it's interesting, isn't it, Lee, that we're talking about the goalkeeping situation, and then at the back you've got John Stones, who was more or less bombed out after the Nations League in Portugal just over a year's time ago. That game against Holland in the semi-final where everything went wrong, and now he's flavour of the month again, back in favour. And where do you stand on these? Because there are big calls for Gareth Southgate, aren't there?
I wanted him to be dropped after the Nations League because, like, he had 4 or 5 warning shots before he eventually did lose the ball for them to score. But that's how Southgate wants him to play, and now he's in form. So I also want players picked on form, you know. So I think at the minute, he deserves to be in there at the minute.
Yeah, because that's an interesting point you make there about players in form. I struggle in a way to accept that Trent Alexander-Arnold's not in that squad at all. I find it hard to believe that he's not good enough to be in the squad. But obviously, this season's been a difficult one for Liverpool for various reasons. So, can you understand why Alexander-Arnold isn't in the England squad? Sorry,
it is quite.
Oh, sorry. Go on, mate. No, you go on. It's all right.
It's all right. It is quite controversial because obviously I thought Trent has probably been one of Liverpool's better right backs, of the coming years. I mean, he's learnt his trade. I mean, he did play at home park in the FA Cup replay like 4 years ago, and he's done well for himself. And I mean, he probably entices a break because obviously he's played so many league games. He's played the Champions League. He's played European games for England. So he probably deserves an international break. So, I mean, it's probably the fairest way. Drop him, let him have a break, and then bring him back in the Euros, hopefully.
We can't go to Euros without Trent Arnold. Not a cat and hell's chance.
He'll definitely go.
Yeah.
He's too good not to take, mate. He'll go.
Yeah.
That Reece James does a decent job, but he's not a patch on a fit Terence, a fit Arnold, not a Captain L's chance.
Yeah. Do you think Bamford deserves a chance to go?
It's a bit of a tight one.
That's a test of that. Yeah.
I think with Bamford as well. I think if the case scenario if England don't call him up, I think he's eligible to play for the Republic of Ireland as well due to his grandparents. So it's going to be a tough decision when it comes to making the decision on international for Patrick Bamford.
He'd be guaranteed
to get a game.
There is desperate straight and watch them.
They're absolutely dire. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd be wanting to throw me chances of playing for England away to go play for the Republic of Ireland at the moment.
Fair point. Well, lads, predictions. We'll do predictions first. I've got one more question on England before we move on to the Boro stuff. So I'll come to you first, Lee. Predictions for the game on Wednesday night against Poland. What's your score prediction, mate?
I'm going to go 3-1 England.
3-1 England. Joe?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick to 2-0 England on this one.
Go on, Son.
I'll go 3-0 then, Joe.
3-0. And Ryan, going to have a full house of you, mate?
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Ooh. Hey.
I know Lewandowski is out injured, but as the lads have said, that Napoli lads are going to step up. I mean, we don't know what goalkeeper is going to be in goal, Szczesny, Fabianski. So I don't think we're going to be favoured to beat them, but I think the draw would be the fair result.
Interesting. Let us know what you think, Boro fans. Chris Sykes has been in touch. He's gone 3-1 for England. Luke Sanderson reckons a 2-1 win for England. Lee, we haven't conceded a goal yet to qualify. He's scored 7, haven't conceded any. But looking ahead at the bigger picture, before then, we've got the Poland game. And then there's only 2 more friendlies. I think it's Romania and Austria. And then we're into the Euros this summer. How much are you looking forward to that tournament, even though it looks highly unlikely that the fans are going to be in any sort of numbers at those games? How much are you looking forward to that tournament?
I'm hoping fans can go, but like you said, I don't think it will be. But I am looking forward to it because I think we play Scotland on the Friday night.
Yeah,
I think it's that'll be a good one. Imagine if that was a full house, how good the atmosphere would be. Like we won't get a chance to meet them at the groups in a tournament again for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a bit gutted about that, but I think we'll get through the group, and then we've got a rock hard run if we do get through the group.
Yeah,
I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it is a hard run.
Yeah, we're in the wrong half of the draw, aren't we? I think we're in with Germany and France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it, Tony. If we're going to win it, or like Lee said, hopefully at least make the last 4, you're going to have to beat some good teams even just to get to the last 4, aren't you, Tony?
It's a harder competition to win than the World Cup, but like you say, you've got to play these matches. I know it's old school. You've got to play them sometimes in the tournament, James. So, let's get them knocked out. Let's get the final, and hopefully in our lifetime we'll see them win another trophy.
That would be nice. It would be nice. Right, lads, we're moving on to Boro matters now. I'll stick with you, Tony, for the first one. First game after the international break. It's a cracker. We're down at Dean Court on Friday. So many subplots to the game, including ex-Boro boss Jonathan Woodgate being in charge of the Cherries. But above all else, if we have got any hopes of making the top 6, it's a game we have to win. Do you agree?
We've got to go into every game now to look to win every game. Obviously, Warnock will have his way to go against these teams. But every game now at the moment now is a must-win games. If, secretly Warnock really believes we can reach these playoffs. So he's got to set us up. He's got to find someone in that changing room who can score goals up front. You know what I mean? Because like you say, we are getting goals, but they're coming from all the way around the squad. But if we had a main man up front for these last 10 games, and we could achieve anything really. And obviously, with Woody there now, it just adds a bit of extra spice. So it'd be nice. It'd be nice to turn him over, really, and say, thanks for nothing, Jonathan.
Lee, what have you made of the job that Jonathan Woodgate's done since he's taken over at Bournemouth?
I think he's done all right, like better than I expected, better than most people expected. But I think the football he tried to implement at Boro, he can do it a bit more down there because he's got better players to do it with. I think that's how I've looked at it. He tried, didn't he? And he said pretty much straight away he realises he can't do it. Where down there, I think he can do it, and I think good luck to him. I hope, just not for when we play them.
Yeah. Joe, something that's been mentioned, it's maybe gone a little bit under the radar in the last week, has been a few chats and a bit of speculation about Marcus Bettinelli staying on next season and joining the Boro full time because he becomes a free agent in the summer. Ben Thornton's of the opinion that he doesn't deserve a permanent contract. What's your take on this situation?
It can, it's one of those where it can work both ways. I mean, the reporters said there was every chance, that Bettinelli could sign for us permanently in the summer. That all depends on the situation, at Fulham. He is out of contract there in the summer, and plus, if the fact that Fulham do stay up, and they might want to look at signing Alphonse Areola on a permanent deal from PSG, and plus you've got Marek Rodak there still. So I think ever since then, Bettinelli been falling down the pecking order at Fulham, and that's why he came to us to get more first-team football. I mean, I understand most Boro fans' criticism of him, the fact that he doesn't get around to stopping long shots or a bit scared to come out for set pieces. But, I mean, to be fair, if it weren't for him, say the last few results, our playoff chances would have ended earlier. So, I mean, I can understand, if he signed permanently, which I hope, I think, in my opinion, I hope he does. But it just depends on what his situation is going to be at with Fulham next season, which more than likely will be let go there and possibly coming to us on a free.
Yeah, I mean,
if he's on a free, he's coming here. If he's on a free, Joe, he's definitely coming to the Boro.
Yeah, I mean, saying the other option is if they sign Areola on a permanent deal from Paris Saint-Germain, that could be the turning point for him coming back here, probably.
Yeah, the comment just flashed up there from Chris Sykes, and there's a lot of Boro fans that are of the opinion or that maybe been a bit scarred by some of his performances this season. But Tony, you made the point there. He's played with us for a full season. He understands how Warnock operates. He understands our system of play. When there's not a transfer fee involved, if nothing else, and I don't think he'd come here to be second keeper, but in a lot of ways, it does make sense for him to be signed on a permanent deal, doesn't it?
Since the Brentford game, I think we mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the show, I feel since the Brentford game, his performances have improved massively. And I said then, I wonder if there's been something being put in front of him. His starting position's improved. His shot stopping's improved. So the way Warnock's already said that he doesn't want to dig too deep into Steve Gibson's pockets. So if he can get Bettinelli, 27-year-old, if he can get a goalkeeper who he's worked with for the last 12 months to sign permanently, yeah, he's going to make sure he comes here, James, especially with him being free.
Yeah. Dave Campbell's been in touch. All right, Dave, mate. He said if he's free, he's more than likely to join, provided he drops his wages. And then Chris Sykes has come back. He still can't come for a cross. So, yeah, I think this one's going to run and run. I mean, at the bigger picture, right, how do you work out Boro's season? I mean, last season, fighting against relegation up to the last day of the season. This year, we've still got a faint chance of the playoffs. It's still been progress this season, hasn't it? Oh, lost Rye there.
Nope.
You all right, Rye?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, what I think about Bettinelli is he has done well for us, and Warnock's expectations of this season was to stay in the division, and he's exceeded that. He's kept us up. We ain't going to get relegated to League One. So it's a good choice to have Bettinelli. But like I said to you, James, pre-show, I said that we could look at the likes of Sergio Romero, who's out of contract at Man U, who's been a very good quality keeper for Man U over the years, apart from this season and the latter of last season. But he's got European experience. I know it would cost a bit in wages, but would you want someone who's going to be like that? I mean, Jordan Archer's only on a contract until the end of the season as well. So, and the only other permanent contracted player is Sol Bryn.
Yeah, so that's a good point you made, mate. And Lee, obviously, we've got that game on Friday at Bournemouth. It's maybe just a bit of a concern for Neil Warnock, the coaching staff, that we've got Paddy McNair and George Saville who could be involved in an international game for Northern Ireland on Wednesday night. Does it surprise you that less than 48 hours after that you're expected to then play a league game?
Yeah, it's bad planning, really. But I'm surprised Warnock hasn't mentioned it yet. I'm sure he will in time. But it's not the best, is it? Hopefully, I don't know the fixtures, but hopefully Bournemouth have a few players playing international games as well.
Yeah.
I think Warnock has mentioned about the whole not Saville and McNair situation, and he said he's not happy with it. So I won't be surprised if one of the other will be on the bench for the game on Good Friday.
Well, it's a huge game Friday, as we said, away to Bournemouth. So, Joe, come to you first. What's your predictions for that game down on the South Coast?
It'll be a tough one, no doubt. I mean, I don't think we've won at Bournemouth for quite a while now. So, if I would be positive getting anything out of that game, I'm going to go for at least a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. What about yourself, Tony? I mean, there's some people saying that arguably the Bournemouth game is easier than the Watford one that will come up on Easter Monday. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Watford are really strong at the moment, but I think if, run all over Bournemouth like we have done in most of our away games where we've just totally, steamrolled teams that, that's been above us. Paddy McNair will run all over Jack Wilshere, and I think we'll come home with a 1-0 win.
Well, it'll certainly keep our season alive. There's a lot of Boro fans optimistic. Damon Laroche has gone for a win. Dan Smith. What are you expecting, Lee?
So it's a horrible place for us recently, isn't it? We don't just lose, we seem to get battered. I'm going to go 1-0, 2-0 Bournemouth.
Right. Okay. Very pragmatic response, Lee. And how about yourself, Rye? Finishes off for the Bournemouth game, mate?
Well, I've just looked at some of the games that we've played against Bournemouth. I mean, in the last 8 years, we haven't won at Bournemouth. So we've got to end that run somehow. So I'm going to 2-1 Boro.
Good man. Good man. Fingers crossed. That's the big game on Friday anyway, lads. And then it's Watford, Easter Monday. Quick turnaround. It's Watford at the Riverside. It's the early game next Monday at 12 kick-off. That's a bit of a downer, that, isn't it, in a way, Rye, that you've obviously played Bournemouth on the Friday afternoon, and then it's the early kick-off again on the Monday that we're playing Watford. I mean, it would be difficult enough playing those two games anyway without having an early start again.
Yeah, I mean, Easter weekend always plays havoc with fans, teams, because you still got to travel no matter what. I mean, we travelled down to Bournemouth late Thursday, early Friday for the game, and then Sunday Saturday they'll have to no travel back home, and then preparation Sunday for Watford. I mean, Watford will obviously be at home on Good Friday, which gives them a bit of preparation, but then they have to travel on the Sunday up to the northeast. So, I mean, it's going to be a real good game. Watford have been up and up since they've been relegated from the Premier League, and I honestly think we'll probably do well against them. We seem to do well against higher opposition of late.
That's a good point you make, that, Ryan. And Tony, we were saying earlier on about that Watford are in form. They seem to be the form side in the Championship at the moment. They won at Cardiff recently. They're on a really good run. I'm in agreement with you, though, so I think we're going to have to be really at our best to get something from that match next Monday.
Yeah, I think, and like you say, we keep talking about Warnock. I think he's the man. He's the man to convince our lads that we are good enough to beat Watford. They're really big, strong, physical side. Like you say, I was impressed the way we dealt with them the first game of the season. Obviously, they were starting to find their feet again in the Championship, which, along with Norwich, they struggled a bit at the start of the season. But now they seem untouchable. It's going to be, like you say, all our games are massive again now, James. But we just have to keep plugging away. Bournemouth, Watford, Barnsley, 3 games that, they couldn't be any bigger. And to see when Barnsley came to the Riverside, they're a totally different side now to what we played at the Riverside, and we beat, I think it was 2-0.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They looked like they didn't have a clue when they come to the Riverside, but it's like you said, Watford have got a new manager, and he's got them firing. And out of the 3 games, that's the one I fear for us, James.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, Tony. I mean, who do you think we have to keep an eye out on Monday for, from a Watford point of view, Joe?
Well, I've got players that have got Premier League quality. I mean, João Pedro, I know he's been massively informed ever since, coming down to the Championship level, because initially bought for him to play in the Premier League, but in the Championship he's been doing well. And Ismail Assar, I think, I know Man U were linked to him in the past, and I think Ismail Assar is one of them too good of a players to play in the Championship. I think he's more Premier League quality, and I mean, they've got good players in their ranks to do Watford, but I think Cisco Munoz is doing good for them in a minute, but I think Watford are just more or less known as a team that go through managers, than Sir Elton John's wardrobe, so to speak.
Be careful where you go with that, Joe.
Lee, more ways than one.
Lee, some people are saying Dave Campbell's got into it. He's got a sneaking feeling we're going to take 7 points from the next 3 games, which is Barnsley's the game after these 2 that are coming up. If nothing else, though, I think these 3 matches will show where the Boro are in terms of how far they really are from a team that could make a promotion push, whether it be this season or next season, or do you think just take each game as it comes?
Just take each game as it comes for me, because I think this season, it's too much hard work. Like, I'm over the moon with how this season's gone. Like, under Woodgate, we were looking at going down. Warnock's came in, he's got us just outside the playoffs, and I think next season, he'll give it a proper good go.
Yeah, Paul Nicholas has been in touch. Thanks for watching again, Paul. He said, just take each game as it comes. Forget about the playoffs unless we win 3 or 4 on the bounce. And as you said there, Lee, it's been a big improvement, and I can't wait for next season. And I think, Tony, a lot of Boro fans feel like that. There's indications that season ticket sales have been good for next season. And I think, in a way, it's probably good, if it sounds a little bit daft to say, that maybe the club gear things up to a promotion push next season rather than trying to force it this season, because there'd be a hell of a rebuild need to be done in the summer, wouldn't there?
Yeah, like you say, I'd prefer us all to be there together to watch us go up, James. So, like you say, we've still got, we're in a similar position we were last season, where we've got players in the changing room who are out of contract. Warnock seems to be doing it his way, getting them out the way how we want to do it. I'll be surprised if we see much of Britt from now till the end of the season. I think he'll use Fletcher and get the best out of him, because I think he'll move on. And then in the summer, hopefully he can, work his magic, bring an established Championship striker in or somewhat better to give us that push, because at the end of the day, we're not that far off. Dale Fry's looking absolutely fantastic at the back. And I've forgotten his name. With a kid from QPR. Hall. Hall. Maybe he's bringing another centre-half in for a bit of cover. I've seen there's been talk of the likes of Danny Rose coming in, but we don't want to be going anywhere near anybody like that. We've got enough cover down the left-hand side, especially if Marvin Johnson stays for another season and we keep Boro fit. But yeah, I think the club will gear up for one mad push next season while Warnock's still our manager.
Yeah, I think like the case, with Danny Rose, I think his wage demands will probably be a bit too much for our sake, But I think, like I said, with both for some longer.
The thing is, with the likes of Danny Rose and all these players who are coming down from big clubs, their wage demands, they're going to have to cut the cloth, mate, because they're all going to end up on the dole with Daniel Sturridge and players like that, aren't they? You know what I mean? They can't be going to these clubs asking for ridiculous money.
Yeah, and plus, like you said, with both Britt and Fletcher out of contract, which I think, there's been talk of Fletcher being put linked with a move to Sheffield United, which I think, if they do go down, which it looks like they will, I won't be surprised if they give a high wage demand for Fletcher to come to the Blades. And Sommerlonger, who knows what's going to go on with him? I know Rangers have been linked, so it's going to be a bit of a clear out for us come the summer, and hopefully Warnock brings some players in to focus on the rebuild.
Yeah. Lee, just get in touch on this. Damon Laroche and Matthew Groves have made references to about who we might be bringing in or who might be moving on in the summer. Matthew Groves has said that he hopes we can keep Balassi, Cabano and Mendes-Lang for next season. Where do you stand on that, Lee? Do you think there's any possibility of any of those three or maybe some of them staying on for next season? What do you think, Lee?
I think Balassi could stay. He's got a good relationship with Warnock. I think Mendes-Lang, I think he could stay. The one I'm worried about is Cabano, because if Fulham come down, they're probably going to want to keep hold of him. Yeah. But I definitely think one or two of the three we could get to keep. Yeah.
Well then, lads, we'll finish off now with a prediction for next Monday's game against Watford, and I'll come to you first, Rye. What do you think the score's going to be against Watford at home next Monday?
Well, I've just seen now it'll be the first time, if we do beat them, it'll be the first time we've beaten them in 10 years at home at the Riverside. Not at home back. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Okay. Tony, how about you? We said it's going to be a tough game. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, like you say, I think it was one of the worst games I went to that season in the Premier League. I think was it a Troy Deeney game. I can't take us to get beaten. I'm going to have to go for a 1-1 draw, James.
Nice. 1-1 draw. How about yourself, Joe?
I usually don't fancy us against Watford, to be honest. So I'm just going to try to keep as positive as I possibly can against them. So likely outcome is I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Ooh, there's a lot of caution with this game, Lee. What's your take on it, mate? What do you think is going to happen next Monday, pal?
I'm going for a scrappy 1-0 win.
Oh, be a great result, wouldn't it? I do think it's going to be a tougher game there than Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth will be hard enough anyway, but I just think Watford are the form team in the Championship at the minute. I just think it's going to be a really difficult game, lads. And if someone offered me 4 points now from these two matches, which might not be enough in the long run to the playoffs, but I still think 4 points would be a hell of a return. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think 4 points would be a great turn. I'd want the 6 points, but 4 points, anything less than 3 points, then it's a bad week.
Yeah, I think 4 points will probably be the reasonable ask for us. I think, then you go into the game against Barnsley the following Saturday, you would want to pick up at least 4 points to give us a bit of confidence going into a side that's recently been informed, but I know the loss going into the last international break. So I think 4 points against Bournemouth from Watford will be reasonable enough for us.
Yeah, good shout, mate.
I think, being realistic, I'd be happy with 2 points, mate. I don't think 2 points would be a bad return at all. It's not what we need. It's not what we need at all. Like if we're trying to get in the playoffs, but I think 2 points is a decent return. I think.
Well, time will reveal what happens, lads. We'll find out this time next week. time's caught up with us for this week's show, lads. Thank you to everybody for watching out there, and my thanks go out to Rye, Lee, Joe, and Tony for joining us. Thanks for coming on board again, lads.
No worries,
Thanks
man.
for having us.
Brilliant. Thank you, boys. We hope you've enjoyed the programme tonight. Bit of a programme with a difference, a club and country one. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to Boro Fan TV. We will be back usual time next week, even though Boro are playing on Monday. We're still going to go out at 6 next Monday night, so no doubt there'll be a lot of reaction after that day's game with Watford, and we'll also look back on the Bournemouth game. So join us next Monday night at 6 for all the reaction to that game, the first reaction that you'll get. From us all at Boro Fan TV, good night and have a good week, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.